Good morning. It is March the 11th, and my name is Bianca, and I'd like to talk more about the pedophile prostitution ring at the Gamble Nippert YMCA located in Western Hills. So, yes, I said correctly, there is a pedophile ring. So, there's a group of people um, that frequent the YMCA, employees and both gym members that sexually attack little children through making videotapes and also by physically raping them. Okay. So I would like to talk about how me and my 9-year-old daughter, we were sex trafficked and sexually assaulted, and our information was stolen by Glenda Harris, Zachary, Marilyn Horning. And what they did was they sold my information and my child's information to sex trafficking cartels. And I'd like to talk a minute about Freemasons, Luciferians, and their secret society within our society as civilians. When the unlearned civilian hears secret society, it's mysterious, but actually the society is operating right in front of your face. So that ties into the question as to why females and children suffer such a difficult time getting out of the sex trafficking prostitution, because you think it is as simple as calling 911. But when you look at 911, the dispatchers, when you look at the officers, policemen, sheriffs are a part of a fraternity, a Masonic fraternity. When you're looking at Aftab Peruval, when you're looking at Jan Michelle Kearney, you are looking at Freemasons. Okay? And I mention Freemasons because their practices with women and children are immoral and against God's law. Okay? And Freemason males are extremely abusive males, and they practice doctrine that justifies them as quote unquote men heavily abusing, assaulting women, okay, especially black women, because you have to understand the European Freemason is quite different than the black Freemason. Now, what has happened is black Freemasons have adopted the pagan ways of Europeans through colonization. So that's where you have with black Freemasons, because you also have black fraternities and black sororities that are raping and killing their own race of women and children for accolades from European society. So you have a lot of black men and black women that will kill and rape and sell their own black women and children just to get a degree, just to get money, just to get some type of promotion in European society. So when we talk about the Luciferian, their practices, they believe in pedophilia. They believe that there is no boundaries between children and adults. And what has happened is a lot of Eastern stars, and an Eastern star is a female Mason. Their males make them perform degrading acts. So a lot of Eastern stars are broken down, battered women. I didn't say a lot of Eastern stars were poor women. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that Eastern stars were searching for money. A lot of Eastern stars have money. They have power somewhere in society as a principal, as a vice mayor, or as some type of coach. But the Eastern Star Freemason woman is a very battered, broken down woman by Freemason males. And this shows greatly in society how a lot of these teachers, female teachers, coaches, camp directors are raping children. Now, one doesn't make the other better than the other. A male raping children or a female raping children. But there is an epidemic of women who are supposed to naturally be the protector and give life to children, yet they're taking it away and they're stripping it from children, along with males. What males? The Luciferian Freemason male that practices on a consistent basis of taking the adrenochrome or those type of energies from children for their powers and sex rituals. And they tell their female masons that this is what's required to be approved by them. So you have a lot of Freemason females that rape children. Glenda Harris, Bridget Behrman Werner, Tyler Cook, Tommy, Felicia, Cindy Jock, all of these females are at the YMCA Gamble Nippert, and they help predators to rape children. It happened to my daughter at the YMCA. A lifeguard named Zach, he paid my landlord to rape my child, have access to her, and also bring other men into my home while I was at work as a single black mother, trying to make it out here with no support, right? And those type of places, especially when we talk about nonprofit organizations, are supposed to help people not damage and destroy them. And what you have at places like the Gamble Nippert YMCA and places such as the Anna Louise Inn, you have nonprofit organizations that have a legit business front. So the Anna Louise Inn and the Gamble Nippert YMCA, they are legit federally approved ran businesses, but they have employees that occupy those positions that are taking clients and customers' information and using it for black market purposes. And then we get back into the Freemason again. So Freemasons, like I said, they're your teachers, they're your police officers, it's your president, it's people in a certain type of influential position. I would say 8 to 9 times out of 10, if you see someone in an influential position, they're most likely Masonic. Okay. And along with that comes their rituals and practices. And a lot of Luciferians believe that in order to succeed in life, you have to kill or rape, or you have to drink someone's blood. You have to kill your family member. You have to do something real weird and crazy to be a part of their organization. But what Freemasons have faced and are facing is someone that is powerful that does not want to join their organization. I do not stand on the principles of Freemasons, nor what they believe, and definitely not how they treat women. So then we get into the prostitution of Cincinnati, Ohio. AFTAB Pr0 and the chief police, whoever she was, Teresa Jan Michelle Kearney, and several other Cincinnati officials run a prostitution ring that includes children and women in Cincinnati. And what happens is these nonprofit organizations, and not just nonprofit, like I said, a lot of these residential property owners that rent to low-income people have already been bribed to allow the human trafficking to take place on their properties. So a lot of people in Cincinnati, especially females, especially in the inner city areas, are experiencing a lot of harassment, a lot of stalking, seeing the same person at all times when you come outside. Perhaps people approaching you with vans. These human traffickers use vans, moving vans, utility vans, covered truck beds to abscond women and children on the streets. Okay, especially unsuspecting women that are unaware that they are being sold online. And see, that's the thing. A lot of women, not all women, I'm not saying every woman, but there's quite a few women that are being videotaped and they're not even aware of it. Okay? And people like Aftab Peruval and several other politicians, they are making money off of this illegal secret operation that is also being conducted by the Cincinnati police, the sheriffs. They're not only prostituting women online through illegal surveillance, they're also physically selling women and children. So they're selling these women's locations that are unaware that they're being videotaped, and they have people that, what word could I say? Imposter. So they put cameras in women and children's home, and then they sit somewhere. So they have a group of people that sit in a chat and pretend to be that female. Okay, so this is a scam. It's exactly what it is. It's a very big, heinous, terroristic scam. And what they're doing is they're selling women's location to men that are giving payments to view these women in these private rooms that the Cincinnati police and several other officials run. So those are the big dogs. So you're not going to see the big dogs like Aftab. You're not going to see the big dogs like them with their hands dirty. But what you're going to find is they have connections to gang members, mobs, and international sex trafficking cartels. So, like I said, you're not going to see their hands get dirty and their criminal acts in regards to the human trafficking of Cincinnati children. So you're not going to see the big dog's hands. They have people that work for them underneath them. Like I said, the gangs and mobs all the way. So bankers, lawyers, judges, notary Republicans, Cincinnati social workers, they have the whole gambit. So all these components are needed to run a successful prostitution business. Okay, a secret illegal prostitution business. I mean, they've got players on every level and every division that you can think about business wise that would have something to do with the transmission of money. I'm sure they have telecommunication connections with crooked technicians, crooked IT technicians that work for big companies that are enabling them to do this as well. Okay, so you got a lot going on within this multi-level scheme. And like I said, I don't believe they're just prostituting women and children. We're talking about drug trafficking. We're talking about all sorts of illegal behavior, theft, definitely theft. Like I said, either they stole my family's money, a dead relative, and like I said, these Masons have high connections. They play around with the legal system. Especially when they're white. That gives them an extra, I would say, privilege or leverage to really clown around in the legal system. Okay, so you've got that, and just a lot going on. I kind of lost my point, but I think I'm going to wrap it up, and I will be making future videos. I want to inform the public, especially those that have people calling you crazy or that you're imagining things that only you happen to see. It's not so. If you don't bother people and you see people with a certain pattern, you see men and women, especially with temporary license plates. The Cincinnati prostitution ring, like I said, they have connections within the Bureau Motor Vehicles, so they're able to obtain fraudulent temporary licenses. Those things are easily disposable. So I'm not saying all of them have temporary tags, but a lot of them do operate with temporary tags and maybe even hard tags that are fraudulent to them. maybe someone else's tags or something like that. There's just all these things that go on, and their pimping program that they have. I mean, I've never personally had anyone pimp me. But they do have all these pimps, so a lot of their cops and, like I said, and Freemason men, they do a lot of pimping of women. No man, I've got news for every pimp. No man will ever pimp me. You can get that out your mind. I wouldn't care if you were Freemason. I wouldn't care what you were. You're not going to pimp me. Okay, so, but I do want to educate the public and other women. I'm just educating other women. I know for sure a man will never do it to me. But I'm just saying, I mean, technically you can say the videotaping, the illegal stuff, but that's about it. I mean, I don't know how they keep getting those cameras in the home though, and that goes into, like I said, law enforcement. Like I said, a lot of people wonder, why is it so hard for a woman to get out of human trafficking? I used to wonder the same thing. I used to be like, how can you get stuck in human trafficking? Now I know the answer. Because in most cities and states, the judges, the lawyers, the police are the ones doing the human trafficking. And those are exactly the people that you would think to call, right? Right? You would think, okay, if you're sex trafficked, why don't you just call the police? Because the police are already paid to arrest women who voice complaints about sex trafficking. They're paid to arrest them or to direct them to a mental health hospital. Okay? So that's why it's so difficult for a woman to escape human trafficking, because the judges, lawyers, mayors, police, and sheriffs are at the higher end of the spectrum of human trafficking. And when you have those type of barriers in place, that's what makes it highly difficult for women all across the country to escape from human trafficking, and I think sometimes it's by experience that we learn things, But anywho, it's been a pleasure talking to you all. I will make future videos in the, in the future. Take care and God bless.